Thank you very much. So I appreciate the introduction. My name is Tamara Maxwell, and I am the literacy coordinator for the district. So I oversee K through 12 literacy instruction for both English language arts as well as literacy in all subject areas. So I have a special focus on social studies as well. All kids deserve high quality education. They all deserve high standards. And we as educators then need to provide those scaffolds in order for kids to achieve those high expectations. And so I think about that with the schools and Common Core state standards. When we have Common Core state standards, there's this expectation that all kids are going to achieve this mark by the end of this grade year. How you get there is all very different, but everybody's guaranteed that. And so that's what we get with Common Core state standards is high expectations for all, regardless of what zip code we live in. I put this as sort of a true and false, because I think right now there's a lot of misinformation about Common Core and a lot of disinformation about Common Core. So I just put this as true and false just to sort of kind of get us going here, but I know we only have a short amount of time. But so true or false, the Common Core state standards are national standards. It's actually false. So they're not national standards. The Common Core state standards were created and individual states chose to adopt them if they wanted to. Wisconsin was one of the states, one of the 45 states, 3 territories, the Department of Defense. I'm a prior service family. We moved around, I moved my kids around. And so in our DoD schools, or Department of Defense schools, they've adopted Common Core. Knowing that those expectations for kids, we wanted some consistency in what it is that kids needed to know and be able to do. So as 45 states have adopted them, but they are not national standards. So that's one little, just a little fact. They do have the Common Core state standards in English language arts and mathematics, and they also have standards for literacy in all subject areas. So it's not that kids are just working on reading, writing, speaking, and listening only in their 45-minute English language arts class or only in their literacy block, but they're working on the literacy of the discipline in every class. So what's the literacy of the discipline of art? Studying sculpture, studying painting. What's the discipline of a science? Thinking about technical vocabulary and text structure. So each discipline has its own literacy. And with Common Core state standards, with our standards for literacy in subject areas, we're working on literacy within all of our content areas. So it's that shared responsibility. So in Madison, we wanted to start with the end in mind. So we wanted to make sure that everybody, all people in Madison School District understand the Common Core state standards and really how they align to our state assessments that are coming out, as well as how they embed into the Danielson framework. So the educator effectiveness, how those 3 big new initiatives in the state of Wisconsin fit together to support student learning. And then also to establish a year-long scope and sequence so every student is guaranteed to have a certain amount of knowledge at a certain point. We have high mobility in Madison schools. High mobility with our students, high mobility with our teachers. If a kiddo moves from the east side to the west side, at least that quarter learning is occurring at this place. And so that's what we've been working on, is thinking about equity for kids, making sure that everybody has access to high quality instruction. So when we talk about pacing, as Barb had talked about in the early, in her introduction, we're talking about that idea of pacing this out for 3 years, this implementation plan over 3 years, and having it scaffolded for teachers. So next, true or false, the Common Core state standards amount to a national curriculum for our schools. False. Okay, good. All right, here we go. That's right. Standards are not curriculum. So standards, it's just statements about what it is that kids need to know and be able to do. And curriculum is the how, okay? So all the standards are doing is giving us this mark in time about what it is that kids need to know and be able to do. The curriculum is telling us what texts are we going to use, how are we going to instruct that, what kind of experiences are we going to create for our kids, How are we going to engage technology? Those are all things that we decide as a school district. So they're not coming from Common Core. So there's that difference between standards and curriculum. So in Madison, all schools have that ability, that local control, that idea of schools. Schools are choosing what text they're going to use. Schools are deciding how to structure their day and how to structure their learning. So, but we also want to make sure that there's some consistency. So we're all following an instructional framework called Gradual Release of Responsibility. And then in that third year of the Common Core State Standards Implementation Plan, we're engaging in that cycle of inquiry to see how we're doing. How did our units of instruction go? How did our scopes go? How is our instructional framework going? Where's our data? How are we using that to inform how where we're going to go next? So in year 3, which is next year, we'll engage in that cycle of inquiry. And you can see that in the chart we have this implementation timeline for 3 years. Right now we're in year 2, where we're focusing in on an instructional framework, close reading, writing about opinion and argument. And we're taking a look at that across all school districts, or across all disciplines, because again, those standards for literacy in all subject areas apply to all content areas. So you can see that there's, every year we're taking our study a little bit deeper. Right now, all schools are focusing in on these priority standards, these focus standards for English language arts and literacy in all subject areas. So the foundational skills, every kid needs a great start. We know that from plenty of research. So we need to focus in on those early reading skills with the foundational skills. And then reading, writing, speaking and listening, and academic vocabulary. So that's occurring in everybody's classroom, as well as our standards for mathematical practice. And so Christina will talk a little bit, because she'll get into the details on it, but we don't just do math only in math class. There are these standards of mathematical practice that we want to use in every student's classroom. That idea of persevering in problem solving, that idea of how to construct a viable argument. So again, it's really, what this is a call to action, that it's all teachers working together to support student learning with these standards guiding us in our work. So we're working together. Teachers are working with lead teacher teams, our leadership teams at schools, our principal's central office. We all are guided by our great teaching framework. Christina's going to talk a little bit more about that. And our Common Core State Standards 3-year plan. Everybody has a common vision. Everybody is working together in order to support student learning. True or false, Wisconsin has not adopted standards in the past. False, good, we know that. So we had our model academic standards. You can tell by the pictures here that we needed to revise our standards just a little bit to really roll with the times. Kids have changed. Our society has changed considerably from 20 years ago. And so before we used to have 6 content standards in English language arts, that was it. There was 1 content standard for reading. 1. And that was the same content standard for K through 12. So really, people were just creating and kind of creating this learning experience for students without thinking about what were the skills that they got before they came to me and where are they going next. So that idea of having an articulated progression of student learning. So that's one thing that we have with Common Core State Standards. So this is another common myth out there. No teachers were involved in the writing of Common Core State Standards. Yep, that's false as well. So we talk about national curriculum. This we've heard a lot, like this is Obama Core, or this is, this whole thing that's coming out from this administration. This was done before. This is an initiative between the Governors Association and the Council of Chief State School Officers, who realize that our kids are underperforming in the United States in comparison to other countries. What are we going to do about this? We live in a society where we're highly mobile. Kids are moving around. We need to have high expectations for all of our kids. So these these 2 groups came together, created this team for English language arts and for mathematics, and they create with a diverse group of teachers, experts, parents, school administration, and they really took a look at what do our kids need in order to be successful. So just a little bit in closing for this overview is that there's a lot of misinformation out there and a lot of disinformation, and I just thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to you about not only what Common Core means in the broader stroke, but what it means to us at MMSD and how we're taking it and taking this set of standards and really making it come alive to support student learning in all of our classrooms. It's really about equity. It's about providing access for all kids to have high expectations and coherent instruction.